Trade Association Education Committee presents the intersection of AI and esports. Today, we have with us Demetrious Roubos. He's with Stockton University. He's the esports program director and information security officer, also a cloud and cybersecurity consultant with different systems. And Ron Kerbs, he's the CEO of Ketis, which protects gamers from scams, bullying, and harassment in online multiplayer video games and gaming communities. And looks like Vijay Koduri has joined us. He's co-founder at Sizzle. Vijay is an entrepreneur, ex-Googler, co-founder of Sizzle GG, which leverages AI to automate gaming highlights. And also, we're very excited to have Megan Van Etten. She is the managing director and founder of Esports Trade Association. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks, Katharine. Great to be here.
All right, so let's start with Ron. Okay, so Ron, tell us about what Ketis does to safeguard gamers from scams, bullying, and harassment, and how does AI play a role in detecting and preventing these harmful activities in online multiplayer environments?
First of all, I wanted to say thanks to you, Katharine, for hosting it, and thanks for the Esports Association for the event. Basically, at Kiras, we understood that gaming is fun. It's a great activity for kids, develop skills, but it also sometimes involves negative activity. So sometimes some of the games may include things like bullying, harassment, scams, things that we don't want our kids to be exposed to. The traditional ways to deal with those situations was basically to filter keywords. So if someone is using the F word, the N word, we're just going to filter it from the conversation. The problem with those old methods was sometimes scammers and online predators are getting really sophisticated. And they're using keyword, new words, they're using slang, they're using new ways to perform their scams. So what we do at Kidas, we created an AI-based technology to detect those cases of scams, bullying, harassment happening within the games. We analyze the voice chat, we analyze the text chat, we analyze the game events, so we know exactly what is happening within the game. And then we combine all of this information in order to find cases of, as I said, bullying, harassment, and scams. We now support more than 60 types of risks for kids. And our product is intended for esports teams and also for parents to make sure that we make gaming safer. It's something that we honestly could not do without the recent advancement in AI. You need to really get into the details to understand the player's emotion from their voice. You need to understand the connection between the voice chat and the game. You need to understand the perceived age of the player. All of those things are things that, just recently in the last few years became possible using AI. So we move from filtering words to really deep understanding of the conversation within the game.
All right, terrific. So Demetrious, how do you use AI in the work that you do?
Well, I operate at the intersection of esports and cybersecurity. So AI has a role in both of those. Generally speaking, we use AI for things like cyber threat mitigation, right? And particularly around DDoS mitigation, right? And that's really where the intersection of cybersecurity and esports comes in, is to help to mitigate threats related to volumetric attacks online. So, we use AI in those ways. One thing that's particularly interesting to me, and based on what Ron was just describing with the functionality of KIDOS, is really the future of governance with respect to AI, right? So I look at a tool like the KIDOS tool. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. In a way to help for reputation management in league governance, right? So as a collegiate institution, we participate in a variety of collegiate leagues. And the majority of these leagues are predominantly run by members of the community from each of the representative schools, and typically don't have the kind of workforce that you would need to enforce traditional governance. Like, in other words, there's not a whole lot of referees and that sort of thing. Like, there's just not a lot of people power in these leagues. And, that may be something that changes over time. But right now, I look at the potential for esports to leverage AI to do things like contribute to tournament management and fair play and AI-driven moderation, much like the tool already does, but particularly at the league level, right? And that could help with reputation management and recruitment. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities for AI that are yet unexplored at the intersection of esports and then also cybersecurity, particularly with respect to reputation management for these organizations.
That's super interesting. Vijay, we'll go to you. And Sizzle GG leverages AI to automate gaming highlights. How does your AI technology determine what constitutes a highlight? And what challenges did you face in developing the system?
Yeah, no, thanks, Katharine, and thanks for having me. Great to be with everyone here, and certainly agree with all the sentiments from Ron and Demetrios so far. As far as highlights and Sizzle.gg, we set out to build a platform where either a streamer or a team or a league that is playing in tournaments and they need highlights, they could do that easily, because today people go in and manually do it quite a bit, and especially for streamers that stream for 8 hours, going back and going through 8 hours of footage is really hard to do. So what we do is we analyze the video, the audio, and the chat of the Twitch streams, Twitch or YouTube streams, and we actually go game by game on the video. So, detecting a multi-kill in Fortnite is very different than detecting a goal in FIFA. So we actually have different algorithms for each game. We have some foundational models that help us, like things like ball tracking, motion analysis, or reading text on screen, or object detection for the various objects inside the game. And we use a bunch of other more advanced models as well. But the bottom line is, for each individual game, we kind of mix and match which models we need. For instance, FIFA, we have to track the ball. We have to detect the goalpost. Is the ball inside the goalpost? Things like that. Or is the ball at the corner line? So kind of making sense of the game, game by game. And so you can think of the video as figuring out what are the events in the game. And then the audio and chat are more excitement factors. So for the audio, when is the streamer or caster shouting or excited or maybe even laughing for a funny moment? We catch all of that in the audio. And then the chat tells us when the audience is excited. So if there's a pentakill happening, the caster's going crazy, the chat's going crazy, like we know it's a good moment. So that's kind of how it works.
Okay, fantastic. So what's fantastic about AI is that it allows humans to really augment their abilities. And I see AI as a terrific way for Esports Trade Association to augment our ability to do things. So I'm going to ask Megan and Demetrios, what do you think that ESTA will do in at least the near future to use AI to augment what we do at ESTA?
Demetrious, if I could start, and then you could take it from there. But I have to start by saying I love this conversation, and I've been doing association member management and society management for so long. I remember being excited when I got Excel spreadsheets. So imagine that, folks. So I don't even know what I don't even know, and which is why it's so great to be shouldered among this great group here, and Dr. Demetrious that helps us with his wisdom. But I'll tell you this: in association management, we don't have much yet. And I can't even imagine what's coming. But what I can say is that the automation that our current backend software is utilizing is giving me more time to do fun things like this versus being in spreadsheets, versus, all the management backend that I used to be stuck literally having to do piled up. So just automation in itself has freed me up. And, association management is very, very old technology, and no one very innovative, in my view, in my purview, has done, what Vijay and Ron are doing here yet. We're so that's what I'll say. What do you think, Dr. D?
Well, I think it presents an opportunity for the trade association to both better understand the membership and also understand the relationship between members, right? So the association itself is a patchwork of organizations, right, that represent different vertical markets. They have different products and solutions. So one of the ways that we can leverage AI within the ESTA is to just better understand our membership and sort of develop that patchwork or the quilt that represents the organization as a whole and their membership. So we can certainly use it to help map out what products and services are offered by the members, and just to provide a better understanding of our strengths, and then also any gaps in the quilt, right? And what are the underrepresented industries that maybe need more representation within the ESTA? So I think leveraging a tool like AI can help us process that large volume of information and just sort of get through it all. Because although people know anecdotally who the players are and what they do, AI can very rapidly dig into the details and organize things for us so that we can do the more fun and creative work of integration and building partnerships and strategic planning and that sort of stuff. So I see AI in helping us, sort of take some of the less less interesting work out of the equation so that we can focus on the strategy.
Sure, and there's so many terrific tools that we can use. But moving on to ethical considerations, Ron, what ethical challenges have you encountered in developing AI solutions for protecting gamers? And how do you ensure that these tools respect player privacy and autonomy?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Every time we talk about the benefits of AI, we shouldn't neglect the privacy issue and some of those considerations, because that's a huge issue. In order to train big AI systems, you need a lot of data. This data is generated by people who sometimes are not giving their consent for their data to be used. I think LinkedIn is a good example. If you noticed just a week or 2 weeks ago, um, the privacy terms of LinkedIn changed, so Microsoft can use your data to train their algorithms. I think most people don't even know about it. But back to your question, and you can control it, by the way, on LinkedIn. Back to your question, I think that for us, it's first of all, you need to make sure that you're compliant with the privacy laws. And we have very strict privacy laws in the US and Europe to deal with this situation. So COPPA, the Children Online Privacy Protection Act, and CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, are the leading ones in the US. Europe has the GDPR to protect consumer privacy. But more than that, there are a lot of new rules that are now coming into play. COSA, it's a new regulation by the US to protect kids on social media and games. And those are the type of things that we like to talk about, and also like to help legislators to form, because we think it's needed. And when talking about specifically how we operate, we're making sure that everything, first of all, is encrypted. We don't want anyone accessing the data. So everything is restricted on the device, on the transition, and on the storage. When we analyze the information, of course, it's de-anonymized to make sure that we're not, using any private information. And I think that the most important thing is letting your users know what you do with the information, with the data. How do you process it? Who has access to the information? who do you share it with? We for example, we don't share it for any reason but providing the service. But a lot of companies out there are using your services for marketing purposes. So I think being clear upfront on what do you do with the data is the most important thing. And in terms of ethical issues, of course, when you have so many alerts, just in the last 90 days, we had hundreds of alerts that we sent to parents and gaming venues. Anything from scams, bullying, harassment, self-harm. All of those things, create some, ethical issues. Do you, inform the parents of the child if the child was the bully himself? Um, do you intervene if you see immediate risk, but the parent didn't give you the permission to intervene? Do you call 911 if you see immediate alerts? In our case, we do that, and we also inform parents that we've done it. But in some cases, we're dealing with self-harm issues, and you want to be urgent and you want to deal with the situation, but you also have to have the parents' approval. So all of those things are things that are crucial when you deal with such private conversations of kids when they talk with each other playing games, even though legally it's considered public information. Like everyone can stream the game, everyone can share it publicly, but we still treat it as a private information and private conversations of kids.
All right. So, Vijay, how are you addressing ethical considerations in your work?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two aspects for us, much to like Ron was saying. One is on the training data side, and the second is on the highlight side. But on the training data side, we're training game by game. So we get a lot of footage from YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, etc. We train with full videos, with highlights, because we're analyzing things like, what is a goalpost, or what is a multi-kill, or what is, a specific object within a game. So we're not going after any personal data when we do that. We're not going after the streamer's face or the streamer's voice or anything like that. We're actually just going after game, objects and game characters and game events. And so what we do on the training data is we anonymize, we blur out all the face cams of any streamer's footage that we have, and we train the data. We still need the box of the face cam because sometimes the face cam blocks some of the images, and we still need to be able to process. Our AI needs to be able to process highlights even with, face cams in different parts and graphics on different parts of the page, because, we don't always have full information on a screen. So that part helps, but we make sure we go out of our way to not process any facial information. And then once we train all that data and our AI works, the second piece is the highlights. And on the highlights, it depends on what the users want. Sometimes in most cases for streamers, we just give them all the highlights. They go through the highlights and they choose to post what they want on social media. So in that case, there's no issues because they are in full control of what they share. In the case of like esports teams or leagues, we also give them back. There's a portal where they get all the highlights and they choose what to share. But a lot of times, a brand, for instance, if there's a brand logo on a clip, they will make sure, like, to Ron's department, there's not any swear words in that clip, or there's not any, unnecessary, stuff going on. So we will actually do a little audio check and make sure that there's nothing, there's no sort of curse words or other things that are brand safe, basically. And we'll sort of filter out those clips and only share the safe ones back to the esports teams and the brands. So that's two levels that we make sure. But in both cases, the end users are we're not sharing it to the world without their consent. We're giving it back to the end users, and the end users can then share to their audiences.
So terrific, Vijay. That's so those are some very good and important insights. Demetrios, let me ask you, in the roles that you have, what ethical considerations do you face?
So generally speaking, I think that bias is a major potential issue when speaking about AI systems, whether you're talking about that through the lens of cybersecurity or through esports. I think bias is one of those challenges with AI, because it comes down to how do you train the model and what does the output look like? Who's training it and what are they training it on? That kind of thing. I like what Vijay said about putting the power in the hands of the users, where the AI is sort of doing the grunt work of farming the clips for you, but then at the end of the day, it's the end user that has the opportunity to decide, is this clip something that I'm going to publish to my channel or not? I think with respect to the KIDOS tool, the tool itself is super important, right? I mean, you can't have enough eyes, in my opinion, on what's happening in the cyberspace, because it's intangible, right? So when you create intangible communities like what exists in Roblox and other online communities, it's great to have a moderation tool in there that is reviewing those and potentially alerting. So in the collegiate space, I see both of those tools and the potential for the use of both of those tools, not only at the collegiate esports program level, but more importantly at the league level. So, I think it'll help with code of ethics, right? If you want to adhere to a particular code of ethics in a league, I think the KIDOS tool would be very helpful with that. And then from a clip farming perspective, I think the Sizzle tool would be very helpful to help us, because let's face it, we're competing in 12 different esports, and there's a lot of content that gets generated, and there's a lot of interaction among community members in any given day. So I think that both tools provide significant opportunities for collegiate esports programs, and then more broadly the leagues that govern them. So I'm super excited about the future of it, because I think we're really just scratching the surface. I don't know if you have another question about that coming up, but essentially there's a lot on the horizon with respect to the potential for AI. So I'll leave it there for the moment. We'll see where it goes.
All right, we'll have to get to the future a little bit later, Demetrious. Terrific. So one of the things that will lead us to the future is the challenges we face in implementing AI. And so, Ron, let me ask you, what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in implementing AI-driven safety measures in online gaming, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think that the biggest obstacle for any AI company out there is training data. And so in order to actually train the best models, you have to have a lot of training data, and you have to get consent from the people, who generated this data to get it. So, and we see it a lot with, OpenAI. They were sued by companies, by the New York Times, for using articles from the New York Times, and then they sign deal with a few publishers to use their content. So it's all about the content that you have access to, and how do you generate your AI based on that. In our case, it's a little bit more it's a little bit harder, because in order to detect those harmful conversations, predators don't stream themselves on YouTube or Twitch. They usually do it in a one-on-one gaming conversation. And in order to get access to this type of conversations, to understand exactly what is happening, it's not exactly that you can email, hey, online predators, or hey, scammers, can you send me your conversation? So for us, initially, it was building the initial data set to train our models. We work with a lot of people from law enforcement, former FBI, um, former people who work with police departments throughout the world, not to get access to the data, but to map what type of risks are out there, so we can build a relevant data set. So that was a huge challenge for us, at least at the beginning. And then later on, with the adoption, I think that people are some people are still scared of AI. They imagine AI as like something from the Terminator, going to control us all. And when you tell them, hey, there is going to be an AI that's going to protect you, they immediately start thinking about, the bad consequences, and, the bad size of it. And so we had to a little bit educate the market to let them know yeah, we have a moderator there, but he's not going to interfere your conversation. He's not going to filter anything from your conversation. It's not going to stop the game. It's going to be the same as a moderator. It's going to report the admin and um, deal with it later. It's not going to interfere your game as you play, which is the most important thing for gamers.
All right, terrific. So this I would like to steer this to put on your ESTA hats, Megan and Demetrios. What do you think the barriers are to implementing AI and ESTA? I know that Ron, you alluded to some of the potential barriers. But Megan, do you think that our members would be open to having more AI tools used within our association?
It's a great question, Katharine. And I'm really on the forefront of this really old industry of association, foundation, society management. And it's old school. So it would be similar to being like, Kat, what do you think? Do you think like the bar is going to be implementing AI? And the answer is yes. And probably law firms first, or the law firms are going to bring it back to the bar and say we need more classes on AI. So it's eventually, I can't wait to see what happens with association software. But it is really, I really have to say, like Demetrious said, that there's a lot of opportunity for association leadership to look at this. And I believe really that we're with a great software as an association management, the most innovative one that we could find. But I can't wait to see what's next. The other thing I'm going to also mention, because I have to, there's parts of community management that there's going to be, the load will be lifted in community management, but there's just no way to replace the community, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to voice that, jobs aren't being taken away here. Jobs are being lightened up like mine. I can be here today because our software is actually more automated than most of other association leader software that I know. So yeah, that's what I'll say. What about you, Dr. D?
So in terms of challenges that we might face as an association, right? Developing AI models is typically expensive and time consuming, right? I'm sure both of our guests would agree that the research and development aspect that they put into developing their products and solutions, it wasn't easy and it probably wasn't cheap, right? So I think that what we're going to see as an association is that members are going to be developing their own proprietary solutions to drive innovation within their own respective industries, right? So our esteemed panelists today have, excellent products that are already brought to market that are leveraging these. And what I suspect is going to happen among the other members of the association is that they are going to be developing solutions either that leverage AI or that potentially develop alongside AI to affect their own industries. A trade association as a whole, I think that you're going to face some cultural resistance, right? Not everybody in the association is necessarily going to adopt AI as rapidly as some others, right? There's definitely concerns over the human touch. That's something like Megan brought up there. I mentioned before that there's bias in AI algorithms, so you kind of have to be concerned about that. But the reality of it is, I really think it's going to be member-driven approach, where each member sort of takes on their own implementation of AI to service their products or industries.
All right, terrific. And I'm going to move on to a different topic with Vijay, but before we do, Vijay, do you have any thoughts that you want to add to the implementation conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think Megan touched upon community, and I think to me, community is the biggest aspect of ESTA, or most organizations. We all want to meet and learn from each other and connect. And I think there's a role for AI in that, because Megan, the conference in Chicago was awesome. It was a great way to connect. But what do we do in between those meetings, right? How do we stay connected? And if AI can keep track of, like, let's say, people's blog posts, what people are posting, and there's a member that talks about AI or highlights, I should be like, oh, I should talk to that person and learn from them. So maybe AI can play a role in kind of helping, kind of spontaneous conversations, keeping track of different people's members' interests and what they're posting online and kind of what they're working on today. I think that would be great.
Okay, so Vijay, as an entrepreneur, how do you see AI-driven tools like Sizzle contributing to the monetization of content in the esports industry? And what are the key trends or opportunities that you're most excited about here?
Yeah, I mean, great question, and that's the sort of $1 million question, no pun intended, because when you think about gaming broadly, right? There's more than 3 billion gamers in the world, and then a lot of those people are watching content on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, etc. And then esports is a huge sort of subsegment of that. 1.5 billion, 2 billion people watching esports content specifically. And when we think about sort of how they're watching today, a lot of times they're watching the main tournaments, the main matches on Twitch or YouTube. They're watching the live streams, but then they're also watching the highlights. And one of the things that we're working on, for instance, is how can we have specific relevant in-place advertising on the highlights. So on the Twitch stream, for instance, maybe you have an L banner of brands and things like that, where you can see the brands during that. But when we analyze the gameplay, we actually know what's happening in the game. So you could imagine a goal or maybe a saved goal better in a FIFA tournament. And as soon as the goalie saves it, you could see an ad that says, you're in safe hands with Allstate, something super relevant based on the gameplay. So that's some of the kinds of things that we think about and some of the things that we're working on. But we think as AI analyzes what's happening, there's a huge opportunity for advertising to be very, very specific, relevant to what's happening, tying to the user and certainly tying to the gameplay.
Okay, and Ron, do you have anything to add to that?
I think there are a lot of opportunities, and I agree with what Vijay said. Just like a few days ago, one of the venues that we work with asked me, "Hey, can you, I know that you're protecting our kids from, bullying and harassment, but can you also analyze the conversation and tell me if someone is hungry because I want to, sell more burgers and more fries?" So that's something that would be definitely helpful for us. And talking about the Esports Association, I think it's the same. Understanding what the members talk about, what the members are interested in, is a great way to understand what are the next gatherings, what are the next conferences that we need to organize. And AI can definitely help us achieve that. Basically, analyzing a lot of information, and for that, the Esports Trial Association doesn't even need to develop unique models. Like even the ChatGPT one, the open one, can help analyze those situations. Usually we do believe that for specific topics you need to develop specific models. We compared ours to the open source models. It just perform better than in a more affordable way. But for general purposes, the understanding of comments and people's sentiment about things, I think ChatGPT and the equivalents do a great job. So it's not like everyone needs to develop their own AI now. I think there are some general models that can be used for probably 90% of the jobs out there. Not replacing the people, but actually making the people better in what they do.
Sure, there seems to be a tool for almost everything. Demetrious, do you have some thoughts on that?
Well, I think about the potential for automated moderation, right? I mean, we're already sort of talking about that, but it certainly can go beyond just the bullying and harassment, right? So Ron had touched on the idea that you could potentially use this not only to determine when somebody is hungry to send more food, but also potentially find out, what are people buzzing about? So, for example, let's say you had a population of gamers and you were monitoring their chat, and you gave them a variety of different soft drinks to choose from. If you were monitoring their communications, you would get a pretty good insight as to whether or not they liked a particular beverage or something like that more than another. So I think, from an advertisement perspective and a product development perspective, the sky's the limit, right? I mean, if you can analyze people's reactions and their commentary, I really do think there's a huge opportunity there. But it comes back to informed consent and that sort of stuff, and the potential for bias in the algorithms, and do people understand how you're using the data? So that's sort of the cybersecurity end of it. I think about tools like, for example, like skill-based matchmaking is something that it's sort of a buzzword in games like Call of Duty, for example, right? For better or for worse. And, I think about the potential of AI in leveling the playing field, and in particular in matchmaking, the matchmaking context, so that, let's say if I'm a player in a video game, that I'm being matched against players of equal skill, so that there's a fair competition, and it's a controversial topic, right? Some people don't want that, and other people do want that, right? So the jury is still out as to whether or not SBMM and EOMM and some of these other technologies are really the way, so to speak. But that's one of the things I think about. I think there's a tremendous opportunity in AI coaching and talent scouting, right? So, and honestly, this is at the intersection of both of Vijay and Ron's products, right? If you think about the marriage of those two products, I see a world where there is AI coaching and AI talent scouting, right? And the notion that you could analyze the clips to determine a good player, but then also analyze the content of their conversations to determine whether or not that person would be a good fit for your organization, right? Because you have to consider organizational culture when you build a team. It's not just let's get the best players on a particular team. It's how well are these players going to work together, right? So I see the potential for both of those tools being leveraged to build, essentially A teams, right? That sort of thing.
So, Demetrious, are you using AI in any way as Stockton's esports program director for those type of roles?
Just in a general sense, right? So to Ron's point, we use AI generally speaking. So for example, when we do an event posting, a lot of times I'll put in information about the event, and we'll get back, like catchy taglines and other things like that we can post online, because we simply don't have the depth in our team to have a fully fledged marketing team, to have a fully fledged clip farming team, and that sort of thing, right? So we'll use AI when we can, but it's typically in a general context. It's not in the targeted context. Although I can tell you that this is based on this conversation, we are definitely going to go take a look at Sizzle GG. And as far as Kidos is concerned, I'm going to make a recommendation to the league that we participate in to give it some consideration.
Sure.
So both tools are valuable.
Okay. So moving on to another question, Vijay, beyond automating highlights, what other AI-driven innovations do you foresee having a transformative impact on the way gamers and audiences interact with content?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly what Demetrious was saying, AI coaching, I definitely think that there's already tools that are sitting on the PC and kind of helping players kind of understand the game and kind of play through the game. We're sort of touching the coaching side on the periphery, in the sense that, we will analyze not just your players, but we can analyze competitive footage. And then, because anything that's streamed on Twitch or YouTube, we can analyze, and then we can say, hey, do you want to break down all of your competitors' plays? And, here's all the clips, and here's the learnings from that. So we're more of a coaching tool as opposed to AI coaching, but there's certainly a lot of opportunity in the AI coaching space. On the monetization side, we touched briefly on advertising, but there's definitely a ton of scope on not only personalizing the advertising, but over time personalizing content and highlights. So right now, you see on TikTok and social media, a mass level of personalization. There's billions of clips out there, and everyone gets the millions, maybe thousands of clips that are pertinent to them. But that's done at a macro scale. But on a micro scale, like when you're watching a single tournament or even a single match, why should everyone get the same highlights from that match? Maybe different people want to see different moments. Some people want to see the funny moments. Some people want to see the kills and the action scenes, or maybe other players want to see the moments of their favorite player. So we have some patents around personalizing that, but that's some of the things that we're working on for the future. Is how can we not just build highlights, but when you have like League of Legends World Championship, I mean, 200 million people watch that event over the course of a few weeks. That's twice the number of people as the Super Bowl. They don't all want to see the same moments or the same teams or the same players. Each of those 200 million people might want to see different moments. So that's some of the things that I think we're going to start to see in the future, where AI not only personalizes the content that they're getting from the same event, but then personalizes the ads on top and the messages on top. So everyone's going to have sort of unique viewing experiences.
Okay, terrific. So, Ron, I know you have to jump off, but before you go, let me ask you, looking ahead, how do you see AI evolving in the realm of online safety? Are there any emerging trends that you're particularly concerned about, and how is Ketis preparing to address them?
Yeah. So first, I think it's a great question, but first, I actually want to answer the last question because I think I have a little bit to add there.
Okay,
So
terrific.
I'm a big believer in UGC, user generated content. People create their own content, people create their own games on Roblox, and I think the future, based on AI, will allow people to create games more efficiently. So imagine that you don't have to know how to program in order to create a game. You can just go to like a ChatGPT equivalent, just write a description, maybe a one-page description of what you want your game to be, and then suddenly you have a game built just for you based on your requirement. That's going to be amazing for players. But then you can take it one step further. Imagine that instead of like you have to imagine what works for you, the system will actually learn what you liked and will generate games based on your favorite, gameplays, based on your favorite, type of games. And so it means that you're the only one in the world that is going to get that specific game. Or maybe if you're watching Netflix, you're the only one in the world that is going to watch that specific movie. And that's like true personalization as I see it. In terms of security, I think there are a lot of concerning trends because it's like a mouse and a cat with AI. So if we're using AI, and the good guys, the bad guys are using AI as well. So we're seeing people using voice changers to pretend to be younger than they are, especially online predators. We're seeing people using, voice generation tools in order to scam people, making them believe that they're talking with one of their friends or maybe with a parent or guardian to scam them to give personal information. So as we advance with those type of risks, we need to address them. So have the ability to detect if someone is using voice changer. That's something that we're implementing. Having the ability to understand if you're talking with the person that you're talking, based on the type, based on their grammar, based on the type of words that they use. Do they use slang that typically they wouldn't use, or maybe it's like it's not very common in the region that they live in. All of those things are things that will help us evolve and deal with the bad guys as they get more and more sophisticated by using AI themselves.
All right. Thank you, Ron. We really appreciate your contribution today. And
Thank you very much.
moving on, let's imagine the future of AI. So, Demetrios, in your imagination of the future of AI, in terms of in the roles that you play in esports, why don't you tell us your thoughts?
I see there's a big potential for player wellness monitoring, right? So,
Mhm.
particularly at the collegiate level, folks don't necessarily have the watchful eye of their parents at all times, right? So, it's I think particularly important for individuals that are feeling isolated, which can sometimes happen. It's not super pervasive, but for the individuals that affects, I could see a world where wellness monitoring is developed and AI, can gather large data sets, particularly around activities throughout their day, right, to make sure that things are happening the way they're supposed to happen, and that sort of stuff, right? So I think that just from a wellness perspective, there's a lot that's going to happen, particularly affecting students and collegiate students in the next few years. The other potential, not to bring it too far back to advertising, but the collegiate crowd, they're often referred to as fans for life, right? If you can get them interested in a particular brand or identity, they typically stick with that for a while. So I think in terms of fan behavior monitoring, there's some opportunities there, right? And we talked a little bit before about the personalized experience for people. And I think that even in general, just analyzing trends and the sentiment around popular events, and that doesn't necessarily have to limit itself to esports. I mean, you could apply that to any event on campus or campus activities, campus life, that sort of thing. So I feel there's a lot on the frontier related to student affairs with respect to the intersection of AI. And as an esports evangelist on campus here, I can tell you that there's a lot of opportunities specific to esports. But I think probably the most important ones are around health and wellness, right? Because that's a gap. And then on the sort of uh, sports side of things, around the notion of coaching, right, and player development. And I noted before that Vijay was talking about a customized experience, and then Ron had talked about creating your own game. And I think to myself, from a player development perspective, what if there are particular skills that you want to develop in a game? So let's say, for example, League of Legends involves a variety of different skills that players employ. What if you really need to focus in on developing one or two of those skills? Maybe you're already an expert in other ones, but you need more practice in a particular skill. I could see a world where AI could create the sort of environment where you could practice that particular skill, whether that be micro or macro or whatever kind of skill it is you're trying to develop. I could see a world where AI is leveraged to do that for players, to create a specific training environment for players. So I feel like that's an exciting new frontier that honestly, I don't know that there's a lot of work being done in that field, but I see that as a potential for the future.
All right. So, Vijay, what is your imagined future of AI and esports, and perhaps your company?
Well, I mean, I think the when we think about the future, not just my company, but the future in general, I think that some of the themes we talked about upon of people creating UGC and creating their own games, like what we see in Roblox, I think will start to happen in a lot of other sort of platforms and game worlds. I think the broadly speaking, there's just been a plethora of games recently, and AI is just gonna make that explode. Whether it's the big game publishers coming up with more games, or onesie twosie independent developers, bringing out new games, or even total UGC like Roblox within a platform coming up with new games. Um, I think that's going to be exciting, and with that, there's going to be a lot of sub communities for those games. So I think that's going to bring people, I think, closer together, because instead of just getting lost, instead of being small fish in a big pond, you're going to see a lot more ponds out there, and you're going to see a lot more big fishes in small ponds. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting for a lot of people. I think to the point that Demetrious was making on the coaching side, people want to get better at something. You can have an AI coach saying, hey, you're swinging like, to give a sports analogy, someone was pitching me a tennis skills app the other day, and I play tennis, and they're like, hey, this app can analyze your swing and tell you how to do a better top swing, or how to do a better slice, different spins. So haven't tried it, but those types of things where AI can analyze, whether you're playing League of Legends or whether you're playing, Fortnite or whatever it is, get better at a specific aspect of the game. And with Sizzle or anyone else's software, you can start to see clips of all of the experts on that specific skill. So not only is the AI helping you, but you have the appropriate content to help you. So I think, the world is more like, to kind of summarize what we've been saying, UGC, more personalized, brings people together. Maybe, like a lot of smaller ponds where just there's these lots and lots of sub communities, and then just, helps everyone get better, right? That's what people want to do.
All right, terrific. Okay, so now moving on to Esports Trade Association. My question, and I'm going to ask, it's kind of a two-part. First, I'm going to ask Demetrious to imagine the future of ESTA using AI, and then ask Megan if that's a future that we want and what she thinks about that future. So what do you think, Demetrious? What's the future of ESTA?
Well, I described it a little bit before, which is, sort of a more curated approach, I guess, to better understanding the membership and better describing the products and services offered by all the members, right? Now, that may not necessarily be the best approach, but I do see that as an opportunity for the ESTA, particularly because of AI's ability to process large data sets, right? So it's a lot to know what every individual organization that's a member of ESTA is up to at any given point, right? And I think the point was raised before that, the ability to sort of maintain conversations when we're outside of big gatherings and stuff like that. I think there is a role in AI to sort of, keep up on what's going on for all the membership, and then to curate that content in a digestible way for people. So I could see potentially an ESTA feed that sort of summarizes what all the members are doing at any given time, right? And then you could create a timeline from that to show the evolution of not only the organization as a whole, but the evolution of each individual member. And you could sort of pull threads off that timeline to say, okay, what was the evolution of Sizzle, for example, right? And look at that particular timeline as one member of the organization, or more broadly looking at a particular subset of the industry and say, okay, well, what were our educational members doing, right? What's our timeline for education look like, or what's our timeline for other industries look like within esports?
Okay, so before Megan weighs in on that, Vijay, do you have any, can you imagine anything that AI can impact in the future of ESTA? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just I would sort of bias on the side of community and kind of what I said before, and trying to connect people between events. Whether it's pinging people for sort of impromptu meetings, and kind of what Demetrious was saying, kind of give a timeline and give people things that they're working on. I think that would be great. I certainly think there could be subgroups within, like a coaching and skills development subgroup that could leverage AI, and maybe even we send conference videos around, but we could have AI summarize all of the events that are happening and send out the insights and maybe the personalized insights to each person depending on their area of interest. So I think there's a lot of different ways we could use AI. Yeah.
Okay, and what do you think about that, Megan? Is that a future that you would like to see?
Yesterday, I just firstly would love to just thank you, Katharine, for leading this wonderful committee where we have these topics with great guests and letting me be part of today's. The first thing I'll share in answering you is don't be afraid. Lean in to what's happening. Try. Regardless where you are in your journey, like I clearly said, like association management software is not the most cutting edge. And I say that loudly because I hope someone hears me and looks at this great opportunity, because society management's huge. Look at golfs and clubs and all sorts of fraternities and sororities and such. So there really is an opportunity here for someone to really pave the way on community management and just taking fear out of the conversation, taking fear out of the feeling, and just learning and being in these conversations, even if you may not like my industry that I'm so passionate about, which is truly association management, community management. I can't wait. And I'm not afraid. I just know there will always be a place for a human being that has an intention to make, the space even greater. That's really the way I would like to, share on behalf of the voice of the Esports Trade Association and somebody that absolutely loves community. So thank you. And thanks the committee for always doing these great topics and letting me be here.
So you made a brilliant final comment there, Megan, about there's always a place for the human being here. It's not just AI. So AI is what controls. Human beings are what controls AI, and we will move it in the direction that we choose. So thank you so much, Vijay, Demetrious, Megan, for being here today. I urge all of you to look into joining Esports Trade Association and look forward to seeing you at future LinkedIn Live events. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Katharine. It was great to be here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katharine, and the panel. This was fantastic.